Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Getting Over Boys, Getting Over. It's NXT pay-per-view coming up in your house, which is quite apt, I would have said, for this time. So, as is our way, the Getting Over Boys got together over the airwaves and into your ears or eyes. And we discussed what was coming up, predicted who we thought was going to win, sorted out some sort of business about last time and who won the title last time. Don't know about that, I wasn't paying much attention. So yeah, we're doing this one now because we've got another one coming up in a week. So digest this one quickly because that one will be coming soon. If you're not checking us out on YouTube, there is a video for this one, so you should probably take yourself over there. While you're there, click a little subscribe if you haven't already, and click for notifications so you know when the next video is coming out. So there we go. Right, let's crack on. This is it. It's CookieCast Getting Over.
Hello everyone, welcome along. It is Getting Over 17 on CookieCast. We've got full house again tonight, so we've got Mr. Cook, Mr. Moore, and Mr. Williams. Alright, how are we doing all? Good?
Yeah.
We've had a bit of a curveball this time, because it's almost a break from our regular schedule of just the WWE pay-per-views. They've thrown in a bonus NXT takeover, so we've got some predictions to do, boys. NXT takeover in your house, bringing the old branding back, which, given the situation, is pretty perfect, really.
Are we classing it as a bonus one, or are they just basically replacing the one that we missed from Mania?
Well, I suppose that there is that. We still have had a few of those matches, haven't we? Because they still threw in like the Gargano Ciampa and things like that were scheduled.
Ciampa, yeah.
But yeah, I suppose in a way it's an extra one. But I mean, what better marketing could they ask for really at the moment? I think it's been joked about, and whether or not actually it was their idea to bring back the In Your House, everybody can't do anything else, or whether or not they did pick it up from fans, I'm not sure. But either way, it's a good idea.
Are they not doing it because it's 25 years since the first one?
That might be a happy coincidence. I didn't realise that. That was pretty cool, though, if that's the reason.
I think that's why it is. I don't know. I may have just plucked that out of my arse as usual.
Well, the regular statistician of the CookieCast network. We've got you'll be showing up the stats mistress, man. You can't be doing stuff like that. So yeah, we've got a few bits of stuff.
She's got her wheelhouse for the NFL. I won't tread on any toes there.
We've got some of our regular segments, obviously returning as always, but just unfortunately to start with a bit of sad news again, as we've had to do seemingly in the last few pods. But been a bit of a strange old couple of weeks in the world of wrestling, and we've had a couple of wrestlers unfortunately passed away, two in very different circumstances. The first one is Hana Kimura. She wrestled for the all-female promotion Stardom in Japan. She's only 22 years old. Unfortunately, after being on the end of some pretty horrific online abuse and bullying, seemingly after appearing on a reality TV show, she, on the 23rd of May, actually took her own life. And all this happened around the time of World Mental Health Week. That's a pretty rough one to take, because it was really poignant. 22-year-old girl, whole career in front of her. It's terrible. It kind of comes more to prominence for me for seeing a lot of the impact it then had on a lot of the what you'd maybe class still as the indie wrestlers, but sort of people like Session Moth Martina and Toni Storm. I mean, I know she's obviously up now as well in WWE, but seeing kind of the outpouring of sort of emotion after that happened, I think, had the girl seen the amount of support that was out there, maybe things might have turned out different. And what stronger message could you have really to if you are feeling a bit down about stuff, speak to people. There's always somebody there regardless of what you might think. Do you guys pick up any of that stuff? Did you see anything?
It's just the same as what you said. It's just as you kind of saw more and more things as they went through. It was like, she had like a couple of kittens and she'd gone and dropped them off at this Stardom offices, like outside the door, for someone to look after these cats that she'd just got. And just think, oh God, it's just the more you saw, the more upsetting and kind of so obviously she thought this thing through so kind of logically, and it was like it was just really kind of upsetting, and just seeing like B. Priestley, Will Ospreay, people who obviously knew her through the Stardom promotion, just being like, this is just wrong, this is really bad, someone needs to, she shouldn't, it's been subjected to something associated to wrestling, but outside of wrestling as well, with this kind of reality TV show that she was part of. It was just that. This is the problem. It's just the kind of crappy way that Twitter works. I think that's the kind of thing that really kind of sums it up.
Well, on a sort of a related but very different note, Shad Gaspard, who being be synonymous with the tag team Crime Time from WWE in the mid to late 2000s, he unfortunately has also passed away, like I say, in very different circumstances. On the 17th of May, him and his son were both out enjoying a bit of time, social distanced at Venice Beach in California, and they were both swept out to sea by a strong current. During the struggle, the lifeguards were instructed by Shad to go and rescue his son first, and then unfortunately they just couldn't recover him, and his body was, after a search, his body was found 3 days later after being washed ashore. So essentially died a hero by sacrificing himself to save his son. It's like that is as if like the other is absolutely heartbreaking. That is just like, especially if you've got kids, that was right in the field, big time. They set up a crowdfunding to support his family as well in the days following. And at time of recording, it's raised over $145,000, which is for his wife and his kids, for the future. But one of the donations in particular, did any of you guys pick up on that?
The John Cena one.
Yeah, there's rumours that Cena was one of the donators, or donee, well, whatever the word might be, for $40,000. And the reference on it was CTC, RIP. It's I don't think it's been confirmed, but it is heavy speculation that it was Cena himself, because CTC was the name of the tag team that he briefly formed as a trio with Crime Time back in 2008. So if that was Cena, fair play. And again, fair play for not sticking his name on it. He didn't have to do that, but such a sad story. But like, well respected. Did well for himself after leaving WWE, and probably one more for Andy is that he was actually the motion capture actor for Kratos from God of War.
Yeah,
that's crossed a few different boundaries with his work. So yeah, just wanted to give them both a bit of a mention. And
it's when you hear his upbringing sounded tough, from in his mid-teens he was fighting people for money and stuff like that, and just because he was a big guy, and because he came from such a tough background, this was like he was way kind of used to make money kind of thing, and it's to get where he got shows like a lot of determination and stuff like that.
Like him and JTG were like a perfect pairing as well, because it was the tall, stacked dude, and then like the little sort of like chicken shit heel kind of a foil. And that, to me, they'll always be remembered with the CTC stuff because of the time that they smashed up JBL's limo. That's the first thing that always comes to my mind whenever I think about like Crime Time. And obviously at one point was it them that also managed to get Vinnie Mac in a do-rag.
No, yes.
Yeah. we just wanted to give them two a mention. Obviously, like I said, two very different circumstances, but if either of them has affected people, like I said, reach out, talk to people. People are there. We're gonna switch gears completely now, in the words of Michael Cole. We'll bring it back up a little bit, and we'll bring it back to one of our regular spots. It's time for you to get your hardware out, Mr. Cook.
Yeah.
Predictions title time.
And in true social distancing fashion, this is how I've been going to the shops these days, so that everyone knows.
So, practical bling, that's what it's all about.
Pretty sure I heard that this was getting turned into a 24/7 championship as well, so I've got to be on my guard.
Well, the amount of times it's changed hands recently, it might as well be the 24/7 title. Speaking of which, let's get to the scores. So we were here last time, we did the Money in the Bank predictions. Score could have been a maximum of 6, and as you can see, Mr. Cook going in as a champion after taking the title from Matt back at WrestleMania. So, here we go. Right. Out of a possible 6, the highest score was a 5. That's pretty good going.
Sounds like champion score to me.
True to form. I'm just going to get mine out of the way nice and early. Last as usual with the massive 3. So that was mine out of the way. And so moving on. Two of you got 4. I'd say the winner got 5. So this time round, the winner was Mr. Matthew Moore, taking that title back.
Hey, look.
First defence.
Look, I'll do it like this, because on my screen it would go like this. Unfortunately, that's as far as it'll go.
That's just like. The ones. Unfortunately for you, Matt, you'd have got a full house if you hadn't have gone with my logic about the Forgotten Sons winning the tag title. And after the recent outburst from Jackson Michael, I can't see him getting anywhere near that anytime soon. I'm not getting into politics, but if you want to look that up, feel free. The ones that essentially cost Paul and Andy was Baszler, and then Baszler not winning the women's, and then Daniel Bryan and Corbin not winning the men's. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in a couple of the matches.
Otis just winning in life.
Well, it's one of them, isn't it? It's like, well, yeah. If you've not seen it, the finish was weird. It was very creative, but also weird. Obviously, Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black were the two that got thrown off the roof, as we discussed that briefly last time. Falling all that.
Has Corbin had any manslaughter charges raised against him yet? Or?
Well, no, because they had such a horrific fall from such a great height that both Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio competed on Raw the very next night, and they then also justified that by saying it's okay, there was a second roof that was only 6 foot lower, as if we hadn't maybe thought about that before. But cheers for that, Corey Graves. Worked that one out. But yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. So from memory, was it not AJ at the top of the ladder, fumbling and fighting?
AJ dropped the case into Otis's hands.
Because Otis had tried to climb the ladder and smash the bottom rung again, hadn't he? I think as well. So there was no way he was ever going to climb. But then, to use the NFL analogy, the fumble return or whatever it would have been, there he was, just waiting, open arms, and declared new Mr. Money in the Bank.
Pick 6.
Well, absolute jackpot. But they've not, since he's won it, they've not really sort of forced the issue of him having a case. Yeah, he carries it around, but there was a slight tease the SmackDown after about him when he ended up tag teaming with Braun Strowman, but then sort of cried off. But everything, sort of Otis, sort of story-wise, has been related around the main women's, if you like, in his story arc of Mandy Rose. It'd be interesting to see. Like you said, I think Paul sounds like he thinks there's going to be a bit more to that.
Oh, tight-lipped. No ship sunk here.
Is
let's put it this way. I've seen very little. So.
It's got to, like, ultimately somewhere down the line. Surely she's going to end up like being a heel and sort of screwing him over, because they're not going to turn notice on her. No way. And I can only suggest it might be that she possibly screws him out of whatever title he goes for with said briefcase. But again, mere speculation, as we like to do on Getting Over. We'll write the stories and then they'll not ever use them.
Yeah, we'll put together a much better card and then they'll go and fuck it around.
So yeah, on top of that, obviously there was the women's Money in the Bank match. That, for me, bearing in mind it was happening at the same time as the men's, was kind of better. I enjoyed the women's sort of element of it more than the guys. The one bit that I did kind of enjoy from the fellas was also the AJ and Daniel Bryan fighting in Vinnie Mac's office. It was always going to happen, wasn't it? Always going to happen. But the best bit was the fact that he shouted at them and made them straighten up the office chairs before they left, and then he proceeded to use what can only be described as a large amount of hand sanitizer shortly after.
Well, did you see all the stuff that got put on Twitter about, like, the main people which going, the most impressive thing about seeing inside Vince McMahon's office wasn't the fact that, well, the pay-per-view being inside the headquarters, wasn't the fact that you saw inside of Vince's office. It was the fact that Vince wears jeans. But that's never ever been the case.
It's working on Sunday, come on.
Some reference about the dinosaur bones on the wall not being the oldest thing in his office as well.
Hey! Wasn't the only dinosaur in the room, blah blah blah.
But going back to the women's one, I thought the women's one started hotter with Asuka doing the balcony dive right from the off onto the other women, and then proceeding to just dive straight into the lift. It was, to me, that was good. But the best bit for me for the whole women bit was Dana Brooke. Do you know what I'm going to say now? So they fight into a conference room, and all the conference rooms are either named after or pay-per-view events or significant things to do with the company. And they happened to be fighting in the Money in the Bank conference room, where there was a briefcase hanging from the ceiling. So Dana Brooke climbs up, claims the briefcase, which didn't look like any of the other Money in the Bank briefcases gone before, thinking she'd won the match. So
was it clear?
Yeah,
was it clear with money in?
Yeah. To which then Stephanie McMahon gives her a bit of a rollicking, who, by the way, was definitely in the room, right? Definitely not pre-recorded. Nah. But yeah, then the whole food fight that ensued afterwards as well, with Paul Heyman getting stuck in, that was quite good fun. I think all in all, it was definitely different. But how did you guys feel about the sort of the cinematic style? If you like, first ever that's not been live as well in the Money in the Bank match itself.
I think they just went a bit overboard with the comedy moments. It was like one or two would have been fine. Like the Dana Brooke thing would have been good. The AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, but then look, now let's have a food fight. Now let's have this, and it kind of turned into a little bit of carry on wrestling kind of thing. It was a little bit like kind of Benny Hill / kind of chasing around the building, and I kind of think, yeah, fair enough, but did you have the right wrestlers to do that? Because Aleister Black is not a comedy wrestler. Fair enough, maybe the other 5 men were.
I wouldn't have stuck Styles in that category. I know he can do it, but I think the way that they've got enough comedy and kind of they need Styles to be either heel Styles or straight up best wrestler in the world Styles, because he didn't need to get stuck into the comedy stuff at the moment.
I just thought, it perhaps needed maybe a little bit more wrestling, just to be picky, kind of thing would be the kind of thing.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really struggling with the way it is at the moment. I'm struggling to have any interest. It's like, it feels to me like the WWE circus. There are a lot of elements that I'm just like, I see it and I'm just instantly like, I don't need to watch this. I agree with Matt. More wrestling would kind of be nice in the wrestling.
Yeah.
You'd get on well with Jim Cornette at the minute, Andy.
Nobody
gets on Jim Cornette.
Yeah. Jim Cornette.
Like I said, I don't mind him. I don't have a problem with that. He sometimes says things that are a bit. He's definitely engaged his mouth before he's properly thought about what he's about to say. But I still like his podcast.
I'm not going to promote this guy too much, but on the basis of he knows, I'm a full believer of he knows exactly what he's doing, because it's the only way he can stay relevant by causing bother for people.
Well,
to say what he said about Becky Lynch was full on disgraceful, but he knew what he was doing.
He's after heat all the time. He says controversial thing after controversial thing, and like I messaged you guys, and something else that you mentioned, Stu. If it's a gimmick, then it's really short-sighted. If it's what you feel, then that's a whole other issue, because it's not on. You know, the things that he says, he's a racist. He's a homophobe. He's got a really bad attitude to female wrestling. You know, if you're going to turn around and say, well, she shouldn't have got pregnant, if that was me, I would have been furious with it. I'm sure Vince McMahon is not happy that the main person in his company is but at least he's had the good grace to be like, hey, she's put the company on her back for about the last 2 years. And then that prick just has to say that. And I was just like, no, just that. I know I've made comments about him, but I'm just done talking about him, because his opinions on wrestling are not relevant anymore. If he wants to go back to the Attitude Era, go. There's nobody there anymore. You know, I'm sure some people, and some of the wrestling sites that we see still think that he's hilarious and relevant. It's not relevant now.
It's probably even older than the Attitude Era. To be fair, I don't think he particularly liked that. He's more sort of 70s, 80s style. That's what he likes. And he won't change from that sort of mindset.
But there's an element of classic wrestling. That's fine, but let's include everybody in it. You know, it's horses for courses. What he likes, but what everybody likes. We go to wrestling shows, and do we like everything that's in the show? Possibly not. Do I need to see another death match? Definitely not. But that floats some people's boats. I don't need to see technical wrestling all the time, because that's good. But at some point you're like, can we do some flippy shit, please? Or can someone just hit somebody really hard? Let's do something, kind of thing. But it all makes up professional wrestling. It's not, and I think at this point where, you've got promotions like Stardom, there is an all-female promotion with really talented wrestlers. Let's forget, what gender they are. It's a point where, we laugh about Vince being a dinosaur. For me, Cornette is a bigger dinosaur than Vince, because he's just stuck. He's stuck 34 years ago, where, women shouldn't be in the wrestling ring. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's as we've talked about the gimmicky stuff, let's move on to the actual wrestling match, if you like, of that night for me. Drew McIntyre, his first proper defense of the WWE title against Seth Rollins. To me, absolutely delivered. Whereas, say, there was plenty of gimmicky stuff involved in that whole pay-per-view, which, by the way, I've not even mentioned the fact that it was a good hour and a half shorter than the regular pay-per-views as well, which just completely caught me off guard. But at least it was at least an earlier night for us in the UK, so that was all right. But for me, with the way that match went down, I thought it made Drew again look an absolute $1 million, beating somebody that's been at the top of the card for a very, very long time now, especially on Raw. That guy also, as well, Seth Rollins, could have used underhanded tactics to beat him with the current gimmick, but didn't get away with it. And now I think Rollins losing gives him like a refocus to move on to like a different part of the card. He doesn't have to be in the world title picture as he has been for almost the last 2 years straight. Now it is the WWE title again rather than Universal. But whilst it keeps then Drew moving on to the next, which we'll get to his next challenger very shortly no, we won't. In fact, that's next time. That's next week. Next week on Cookie Cat. But yeah, so I like as a thing. Again, enjoyed the comedy bit. I don't want to see it every single time. Money in the Bank already for me should be something that's necessarily at the opening match of WrestleMania rather than its own pay-per-view. I think with science, as much as I do enjoy it, I'd be quite happy if they never do it in the Towers ever again.
No, it's an important kind of thing because it kind of sets the table for a good few months with the two briefcases, and yeah, but to be a bit too. The women's match was a bit more kind of serious and proper, as it were, kind of thing. Well,
I'm sure we'll talk about the women's briefcase a bit more on next week's. But obviously, yeah, that's kind of had its, because of the Becky Lynch thing. That's kind of already run its course with the case. Obviously, circumstances you can't change. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there is no kind of suspense element now in the aftermath of the women's Money in the Bank, as with Becky Lynch now heading off with her pregnancy. Asuka's just by de facto the champion. Although I did the handover was done particularly well, but we can always talk about that a bit more next time on getting over when we're doing like the main roster stuff. Speaking of more main roster stuff, another release. Although this time the NFL guy, Mr. Rob Gronkowski, in the possibly one of the shortest ever main roster careers, didn't have to go through developmental, didn't really have to do anything other than jump off a balcony, pin somebody, and then just has now disappeared, losing the 24/7 title that he picked up at WrestleMania. R-Truth is now the probably 65-time champion, or 24/7, 7-Eleven, I-45 champion, or whatever it is that he's going to bill it as. But yeah, so the Gronk has gone. Obviously, that's coming shortly after him re-signing for the Bucks for the upcoming NFL season. Anybody see that coming? Anybody think he'd maybe try and sort of pull double duty a little bit, or?
A part of me legitimately thought they might try and tie something in with a broadcast on Fox. But
I thought they might try and weave it into a game.
I thought that he would score a touchdown and somebody would come and pin him as part of his celebration and take the title off him and run off down the tunnel. That's how I thought it was going to go.
It would have been good. It would have been a great. Like, now that they're allowed to, hang on. Are they allowed to use props as part of the celebration now? I can never remember whether they agreed on that or not.
You just get R-Truth as the mascot.
It got banned a couple of seasons ago, didn't it? And I don't know if they were ever looking at bringing it back. I don't know if they have.
Well, Michael Thomas got a fine when he hit the phone in the posts. So I'd imagine that a title belt would probably come under the same jurisdiction. So if he scored a touchdown and then when he got the title belt and was like posing with it and stuff like that, and then yeah, R-Truth just comes and spears him out of nowhere or something like that, that'd be hilarious.
You're not telling me that the name on that check that pays that fine wouldn't have read McMahon though if he'd have done it. He'd have absolutely paid for it.
Yeah, obviously, I suppose.
Or Fox themselves, to be fair.
Yeah, Fox would have fitted the bill for that one.
Guy about giving him the cash.
Oh, they could. Vince could just use all that XFL money that is now not spent. Oops. Yeah, so going back to the wrestling, so something else that's come back over the last few weeks. They're letting a crowd in, except for this time the crowd that have come back are actually NXT wrestlers and Performance Center trainees. What do you mean, Paul? What are you getting at there?
Just trying to bait me here. I'm not. You're going fishing and I'm not biting.
So basically, they've put them up. Matt's favourite wrestler in the entire world, Ridge Holland, was one of the special guest members of the audience, if you like. And we spotted him straight away. Made sure Matt knew that he was there in attendance. Happened to also be the guy's birthday though, so ringside tickets for Raw. And I'm sure you guys also saw his name because I think I sent it on to you that we pointed that out. We'd spotted him and got a little reply on Twitter from the man himself. So pretty sure Matt's now framing that up and sticking it up in his front room. But yeah, that's it's good that they've got a crowd back there, a bit of atmosphere.
I think kind of not wanting to compare the two promotions, but AEW have been doing it pretty much from when they started with kind of lockdown and all that kind of thing, and it's worked really well. A wrestler that's done well over here, Shug D, has managed to actually get himself onto the main roster in a match with Chris Jericho through kind of being part of the AEW crowd. So if they start to do the really cool thing that I do like about the way WWE's done it, they've done it like a hockey arena with the plexiglass. So I quite enjoyed that kind of thing. I know some people think it's shit, but I thought it kind of had that kind of hockey atmosphere. I just thought if they work on it a little bit more, it could have that kind of hockey style atmosphere about it.
Nah.
They need to work on it.
I'm gonna have to stop you there.
Look how annoyed he is.
I'm gonna throw in my Ready to Grumble. So again, as always,
right, here we go.
If you guys have got one, so Ready to Grumble,
go on, man.
The segment that we like. Put 30 seconds on the clock. Well, I'll get it off my chest and then never to be mentioned on the podcast by me ever again. All right, we got it.
Right.
Let's go. Yeah, those screens are my Ready to Grumble. Those screens are my Ready to Grumble because I understand they're there for safety and that's absolutely fine. How do they actually work? Those people are not 2 meters away from each other. Those people move around during the recordings, and as well, poor bastards have to stand up for 7 hours worth of tapings as well, which I think is very harsh. They're clear, I get that, but how distracting are they when they're so reflected? So infuriating for me. I'm not enjoying the screens at all. There we go. I'm not talking about that now.
You. Lovely. Perfectly within the time as well.
Yeah, that's me. I'm not mentioning them again now because that's it's been a bit of a bone of contention of mine for the last couple of weeks.
I think I might know what Matt's might be.
I can't. If we do the rule that we can't talk about it, I've talked about it once. I can't talk about it again.
Well, you can't talk about it from that point onwards.
Maybe it's not what I think it is then.
Anybody else got a grumble that they want to throw in right about now?
I do. I've got two. One that Paul thinks. Well, Paul could do mine for me if he thinks he knows what it is. But I've got two.
Well, yeah, go for it then. I've got the time. Somebody else got it.
Got it.
Right. Ready, Matt?
Right. Yeah.
Go.
Right. We've mentioned it before. Jackson Riker. Right. I don't give a shit whether it's your gimmick or whether it's your character or what. Tweeting what he tweeted on, was it Sunday night, Monday morning, was completely out of order. And if that's what he really feels, then he needs to be gone. Because, either way he needs to be gone. Because it doesn't sit well, the whole kind of supporting what he supported.
He's nailed it right inside the time as well. Yeah. So we won't get too much into the politics of it, but yeah, for his own tag team partner to come out and distance himself from him, within a matter of hours afterwards, it's not going to go well, is it?
No.
It goes back to what we were just saying about JC as well, in the sense of if it's a gimmick or if it's what he really feels, but there's no distinction. But yeah, any more grumbles? Any more grumbles?
I was going to say, there's a local wrestler called HT Drake that says kill all gimmicks. He's definitely killed their gimmick. There's no way that gimmick's going anywhere.
It was one of them as well, where they're always on a bit of a losing streak, where if they're going to be called the Forgotten Sons, the minute one of them absolutely drop the ball, then people are going to make the joke about them actually being forgotten. So I'm sure it won't be long if it hasn't already been published 30 times.
It was the makeup of the group anyway was poor, and it wasn't. It was just so short-sighted and just wrong, just so wrong.
If anybody is lost by the comment, let's just, again, we're not going into it too much, but let's just say that the chances of them facing the New Day for the titles are probably slim to none at this point. So yeah, moving on from that one. Any more grumbles, or should we get stuck into some predictions?
Let's predict it.
Predictions. Okay, cool. So, seeing as Mr. Moore's got that shiny hardware to defend this time around, this brings us to In Your House this Sunday, live or not, as the case may be, from the Performance Centre at Full Sail, as has been for the last few months or so now. But this time it's the turn of NXT. At the time of recording, there's 5 matches that have been listed for the card. There was supposed to be 6, but the Cruiserweight, or the interim Cruiserweight Championship Finals, which is definitely not a mouthful, has now been moved to NXT, which will have actually gone out before the podcast goes to air. So you'll be able to see how right or wrong we were right from the off. So we will talk about that match still, I think. So the matches that we've got to talk about other than that are the NXT Women's title is on the line. There's a couple of singles matches, and then there's a North American title defence and an NXT title defence. So as it's been moved off the main show, let's start with the finals of the Cruiserweight tournament for the Cruiserweight title. This time around, and this is where my pronunciation goes to absolute rats, so apologies. I'll start with Drake Maverick, because everybody knows how to pronounce that.
Nailed that
Well done, Stu. But they didn't put one out of the way, did you?
Could have gone with. If I could have completely goosed it and gone with Drake Spud, then couldn't I? But so Drake Maverick versus El Hijo del Fantasma. Just in case the name doesn't give it away, Mexican Lucha Libre wrestler, for those that haven't maybe seen him. This whole tournament has really been Drake Maverick's redemption story, and we'll find out if that's going to come to fruition. For the regular listeners amongst you, you'll know that we talked about the releases on a release special a little while back, and Maverick's name was on that list. Except for he's probably wrestled more matches since officially being released than he actually wrestled when he was signed, because he's not doing any kind of general manager gimmick or anything at the moment, obviously. I suppose it's a similar vein to the Heath Slater storyline with the SmackDown Tag Team titles from a few years back, but basically Maverick needs to win the tournament to essentially keep his job. They threw a bit more extra tension in there when the tournament was set up. There's two pools, if you like, a Group A and a Group B, and Group A was like a 3-way tie with Maverick in it. So they had on last week's NXT, they had a triple threat match to determine the winner of the group. I think most people, if they hadn't have twigged that this was going to happen with Maverick, would have probably picked Kushida to win that match. But Kushida had the armbar in on Jake Atlas, who was the third opponent in that match. Whilst the armbar was applied, Maverick snuck in and pinned Atlas for the win. There was a little bit of controversy during it, because just before the ref counted 3, Atlas was actually tapping out, but the ref positioning missed that. But after the match, Kushida actually gave his blessing for Maverick to still be awarded the win. Like it matters anyway, pal, because the referee's decision is final. But if Maverick wins, I would then assume that Kushida's probably got first shot at it. Did anybody think that he would actually do as well as he has?
Surely Jordan Devlin's got the first shot at it.
He's not been mentioned though, has he? Whilst it's to crown the interim champion, there's been absolutely no mention of the Irish Ace.
There's like a sentence every now and again, he's stuck in Ireland or something, like that. You're like, oh, okay then, we'll just glaze over that a little bit, kind of.
The one thing that's bothered me about it is obviously the focus is on Maverick, and I get that. But why, what we're doing now, I'm pretty sure people have heard of using video calling or video conferencing. Why not have Devlin be sort of chipping in his opinion still all the way through it? He's still the champion. To me, why are they not dropping him in? Because that just adds more onto like what happens next.
It seems strange because like he seems to be dropping little bits on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem to be like an official kind of. He's doing a really good job of keeping himself in the picture, which seems bizarre. Really, you just got visions of it being like, well, we get 2 or 3 months down the line, and actually we'll just push it all under the carpet, and whoever's won the interim cruiserweight title is just the cruiserweight champion now. And no, John who? What? No,
yeah,
what?
Exactly.
Never happened. We never had a purple belt. What?
But weirdly, the one that they've been using on NXT is the purple one.
Oh right, because initially they wanted it black, didn't they?
They put it was purple on it when 205 Live was like, and the Cruiserweight Classic originally was the thing, and then changed it black shortly after when Devlin picked it up, and maybe that's how they're going to distinguish the difference then. So the interim is the purple one. Who knows?
The purple one they're fighting for, is it the WWE Cruiserweight Championship or is it the NXT Cruiserweight Championship?
It's the WWE Interim Cruiserweight 24/7, 7-Eleven, NX5, M6.
Because that could be the way they get around it, I suppose. Because if they've still got the old belt with WWE on it, but because Devlin's got the one that's got NXT on it, hasn't he?
I don't know if that ever got updated with that logo actually, and I should know that being like. I'm sure I saw something with it on where it's like it's just taken the WWE off, just put NXT in the middle instead. So that could be one way of getting around it, I suppose. You see, I'm easily distracted. It was like, ooh, it's not purple, it's just gone. The strap's been changed to black leather again. It's like, yeah, that took any kind of effect off the actual plates on the belt.
Did you see like on TNA because Tessa Blanchard couldn't defend the Impact title? Moose bought the TNA title back, and they've now got 2 champions with different belts. So maybe it is a level of nuance, but it's just weird.
And as well, I thought, just quickly switching on to Impact for a second, with the Slammiversary coming up, 2 weird things about that is that the matches that are penciled in for that so far, they haven't. I thought that the instant thing to do would be like a unification of the 2. Not doing it. We've got 2 separate matches, but also the first main advertising I've seen for Slammiversary is basically a glass of whiskey in the hand of somebody who's watching the TV of a news broadcast about all the people who were released from WWE. I get that some of those were TNA guys and stuff, but like, why would you promote it in that way? I don't get it. Like, I thought they'd have wanted to stay away from it, but anyway. Yeah. So, does anybody think anybody other than Drake Maverick is winning? No.
Well, I can't pick the other guy because I still don't know what his fucking name.
So you're just doing this to make me say it again, aren't you?
Yeah. So what was his name? I didn't catch it.
I'm sure it's pronounced El Hijo del Fantasma, and if it's not, it's El Hijo, which sounds wrong in a Yorkshire accent.
I mean, he's come with a lot of hype, didn't he?
Yeah.
Lots of vignettes and lots of kind of this, that, and the other. But then there's that weird thing where people keep on trying to like kidnap him. That's really bizarre. It just keeps on happening. He keeps on fighting him off, Then he fought off with Jake Atlas the other day. It's bizarre. It's happened like 3 or 4 times now that they've tried to and they've already.
Is he only like 4 foot tall or something?
No.
Well, he's a typical kind of lucha libre kind of thing, isn't it? Kind of.
At this point in time, though, I'd like to know what's more dangerous, like COVID-19, or actually moving everything to the Performance Centre. Because I'm pretty sure through the Performance Centre, starting back with Tommaso Ciampa, there's been either mystery attack or mystery kidnapping, at least one every month since, like, surely that's got to be a factor. Surely they've got to have added security. It's just, terrible.
I mean,
terrible
no one's looking. Was it Zimarion or whatever his NXT name is? He's gone. He hasn't been seen for weeks. No one's gone. Anyone filed a report? To go with the manslaughter charges, kidnapping.
The
manslaughter partner or something.
The worst part is most people know him as Zimarion or DJZ, and he hadn't even given him a chance for people to get to know that is it Joaquin Wild or something like that?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you've not even got a chance for that to settle in yet before they're like, oh, he's gone. So
he'll be fine as soon as Robbie E turns up this time.
Well, he's already there. He's Chelsea Green's manager.
That was the joke.
Sorry, Paul.
Jim got it.
You fucking.
Maybe he needs Robbie T to back him up.
Oh God, Jesus Christ!
Big Robbie T throwback to 10 years ago almost in TNA. I put everybody down.
There's your cooking past bingo. Who would have thought that Rob Terry would have got a shout out on the podcast?
I've put everybody down for Maverick, so that's kind of now irrelevant as to whether he wins or not in terms of ambitions, I guess.
Stupid when he doesn't win.
But then
because at least we can get on the Phantasmo gimmick.
More of that.
Be pleased it'd be when Paul turns up wearing the t-shirt of him next time. It's just a tiny little picture of the dude because the rest of it is his name taken up.
Yeah.
It's like it's like when you used to get Van Nistelrooy in the back of an old football shirt and he had to wear a long sleeve because it started at his elbows.
You're the best one for that. You have Jan Vennegoor of Hesseling.
Hesseling, yeah, I knew that was going to come out when you started. So, the 5 matches that then remain, we'll start with what could be, for me, probably the best match of the entire card, which is the NXT Women's title match. Charlotte Flair as champion going up against Rhea Ripley in a kind of rematch from WrestleMania, but this time adding Io Shirai into the mix. After last time, when we were saying about Ripley, we didn't see her getting screwed out of that title at WrestleMania, and it turned out it was a work permit, and when would she be back? Oh, nobody knew. The night that we recorded, she turned up on NXT. So that obviously didn't slow her down too much. Curse of the podcast, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, she got it all sorted out and turned back up. I did think as well, I think it was Paul that had said, I think he called that match being the best one of Mania weekend, and that could well be in terms of actual wrestling. It was a decent match. I'm quite happy to see this again, and to somebody with Io Shirai's skill and the variation in her style between the other two as well should make it a bit even more interesting. I think for me personally, it's about time that they gave somebody else the title. I'm getting a bit bored of Charlotte Flair being on every single thing ever. I wouldn't be surprised if that BT Sport advert what keeps coming up with Ric Flair, and if they just sub Charlotte Flair into it instead, just so they can get her face on another bit of WWE programming. At this point, it's getting a bit much for me. She's good, no issue with her, her skills and stuff, but just tone it down a bit. Too much of a good thing, I think.
It's when she's everywhere. It's when Raw, NXT, SmackDown. It's like Jesus Christ, the woo gets a bit annoying after a while. It's just kind of like marvelous, great, thanks.
Like, have they not learned though as well by now? It started really probably with Cena, and then it went to Roman Reigns, and now it's gone to Charlotte. I think they only they try and force certain people on you, but I I suppose the one difference this time is that she's technically still a heel character, whereas the other two are still technically babyface, I guess, at the time. So it's still not working for me having so much of her. But yeah, predictions for the match, gentlemen. Paul, do you want to go first? Any thoughts on this one?
So usually I'd trot out the same old. It's probably too early to switch the titles line. She's only had it since April, but I wholeheartedly agree with everything that's been said. She's overexposed is probably the best way to describe it. She's being used way too much. I can only assume they don't want her on NXT because she's too valuable in other elements of the company. You wouldn't imagine that they'd just be happy just having her as a non-touring entity, because she's at the point now where she can probably draw a house on her name alone, because she is, you're guaranteed to get a good performance out of her. You're gonna see a good match if she's on the card, so you're more than likely to be able to sell more tickets when she's on the touring schedule. So I think they probably will switch the title, and I think it's Shirai's she's had quite a few opportunities now, be it against Baszler, or did she have a title match against Rhea Ripley at one point?
I seem to recall that happened. So yeah,
I think so. I don't think it was. Might have been was it the takeover at Royal Rumble, maybe?
She's
Either way.
What match was it where she had that? She was played to the ring by that Poppy, which was like the most bizarre kind of like 12-year-old with a rock band behind her.
That was.
So
was that SummerSlam?
I'll go with Shirai to win it.
Right, cool.
She's been this version of herself for a while, hasn't she?
Yeah, and I like the fact that it's taken them this long. So she was known as the genius of the sky. Now she's gone a bit moody. They've changed the gimmick to like Lost in the Sky, I think, which I quite like. Come on, it's only taken you 8 months or so to figure that one out. Matt, who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Charlotte Flair. I just think at the moment, with the lack of crowd and the drop in ratings, I think they're just going to go. They're going to have her everywhere. They've seen an upturn in the viewership for NXT, and I think they put 2 and 2 together and get 700,000. So yeah, I think they're going to leave it on her for a bit, kind of thing. Because I think obviously kind of not wanted to kind of, we're talking about NXT, so they've obviously started moving people up onto the main roster as well. So like obviously Riddle's on SmackDown now. There's rumours of Dijakovic going to Raw next week. I just wonder whether they go. Is Rhea Ripley going to go up onto SmackDown or Raw just to kind of bolster their numbers? Because they talk about it, but the women's division in NXT is stacked, and they've probably got other people that are going to come across as well. Because Toni Storm's kind of disappeared at the moment. When's she going to perhaps come back into the fold? Because she's not. Obviously we were at the tapings in York when she kind of lost. She couldn't challenge for the NXT UK title anymore. So yeah, is she going to come across? Because obviously she shouldn't have any problems, depending on where she lives at the moment. She shouldn't have any problems getting a visa and working in the US at the moment. So
yeah,
I think that's what I think will happen anyway.
You just actually swayed my decision, but not to the same as yours. I'm going to go for Io Shirai on that basis, because when you said about the call-ups, I'd completely forgotten about Riddle, because full disclosure, not quite caught up on SmackDown yet. But that is a good point, and now having talked about Becky briefly, that is a big gaping hole in that Raw roster. So to me, the two most established ones are Charlotte, obviously, and Rhea Ripley. People know more of her from around Texas. NXT Women's Champion and then the match at WrestleMania. So it would make sense for those two to maybe kind of move into some sort of program on Raw, leaving Shirai with the title on NXT. So I'm going to go for Io Shirai as well. Which brings us to round out that prediction to Andy.
Rhea Ripley for me, please.
Ooh, is this purely for points by any chance?
Not purely for points, no. I must admit I felt a little out of sync on the last of the podcast. I was shooting in the dark on a couple of picks, as was reflected by me relinquishing my my title and letting Matt have another opportunity at being champion. But you know,
swing one my way. That'd be all donations gratefully accepted. At this stage,
it doesn't sound likely, Stuart. I'm not going to lie. It's you know, got to keep it up in the upper echelons now, and it's not so much playing for points. I have researched, I've collated, I've used an algorithm, and you've all gone for something different. So it's alright, baby. It's alright, baby. You ain't going anywhere.
I've logged that in, so that's all sorted. So we'll move on to the next. One of the two, I guess, grudge matches, if you want to call it that, is the relative newcomer Karrion Kross versus Tommaso Ciampa. At this stage, for me, Tommaso Ciampa's starting to almost feel like the gatekeeper, because he's like welcoming the new guys quite often. But Kross is that new guy, and he's got the killer entrance, if you excuse the pun. He's got a bit of a sidekick in Scarlett, definitely drawing attention wherever she goes. But the overall presentation of that entrance is fantastic. Seems to be glossed over the fact that his entrance music is like the Armageddon theme tune from about 1999. But you know, recycling, save the planet and all that. But so far, he's only been sort of involved in like squash matches. So this is like the first real outing for me that he's going to get on WWE NXT TV. So he's definitely going to be seen in a different light. Now, this guy was like when did he came from Impact, didn't he? He was Killer Kross in Impact, and they've changed his name slightly to Karrion Kross. But he came in with a massive reputation, and I remember even a point where he was being touted as the guy who could possibly be the hacker on SmackDown, and it obviously didn't come in, but it was talked as if he was going to skip NXT and go straight to the main roster, so he has come in with a bit of a rep. I feel a bit bad saying this because I absolutely rate Tommaso Ciampa massively, but it's the guy's first pay-per-view match essentially. Can't see Kross losing, so cards on the table nice and early for me tonight with that one, but I'm going for Karrion Kross.
Yeah, me too. They've built him up to be something like a borderline monster kind of thing, and I don't think he'll be in NXT for very long, but while he is there, he's going to beat up some big names, and then he'll be on the main roster quick.
Wouldn't surprise me if his next program's somebody like a Balor, or if they stick him straight in with Adam Cole, or you know, like you say, it's going to be sort of greatest hits tour almost.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe even like a Keith Lee or something like that. I mean, Keith Lee will make him look like $1 million as well. But yeah.
We'll talk about Mr. Lee shortly, because based on what you've just said, I have a bit of a theory. So, Paul, you got Karrion Kross or shout out Tommaso Ciampa?
I agree with everything that's been said so far. I've not seen much of him, but the bits I have seen, I imagine that he'd probably have quite a good feud with someone like Aleister Black when he does go up to the main roster and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I can't remember the last person they brought in that was new, that was hyped, and then they lost their first pay-per-view outing. So, yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, same here. He's gone. He's chased after us. He's gone looking for this fight. First pay-per-view. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have, like Paul just said, to have this much hype to walk away with a loss. It kind of takes the wind out of the sails. So, yeah, I think it'll be clean sweep on that one, isn't it?
Yep, it is all the way across. So, from one guy with the killer entrance to the guy that formerly, I guess, had one of the best entrances in all of wrestling, Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. So this is getting back into the kidnapping mystery attacker kind of business again, because it was like, who's attacked Finn Balor whilst you're in the middle of this feud with Walter, which has never been mentioned since the outbreak, because now nobody needs to remember that there was a match set up for that. It turns out Damian Priest, the man formerly known as Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor, is the guy that's owned up to it, basically. Damian Priest's been relatively quiet in terms of takeover appearances since his debut, and interestingly, probably going up against the guy who might have the best pay-per-view record for takeover appearances. So, where do we go with this one? Who's got what?
I'm going to go with Balor. You know, he keeps on. Damian Priest keeps on picking these fights with people and then losing. I just can't. They're not gonna have Balor lose to someone of his stature.
What you're saying is he is like the reverse Undertaker, is that right?
Yeah.
Shout out NFL podcast.
He's back.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like Damian Priest to win. I would have possibly even have given it on the same basis as we've just given it for Karrion Kross, in the sense, it's an early pay-per-view appearance. He probably shouldn't lose, but I don't get the feeling they're that invested in. His character's a bit more interesting as well, because it's a little bit more established, I think. For me, I feel like that anyway. So I'm also going Balor. Andy?
Damian Priest for me. I think that he's going to win it, and I think the reason for that is that we haven't seen the Demon yet. I think it's probably going to spark the return, and
but that's a very bold prediction.
It is.
Paul,
Yeah.
you want to finish this one off?
I like where Andy's gone with that. I'd like to see it, but Balor doesn't lose at takeovers, does he?
Does he? That's the question.
Doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I don't think Priest's a big enough name to warrant a victory over arguably the most established person that NXT's ever had at this particular time of his career. So yeah, stick me down in the Balor camp for this one.
Oh,
right.
That's points right there in my points in my pocket there, boys. I love it.
So we've got 2 matches to go. So both title matches. First one we'll get to is the NXT North American title. This time round, champion Keith Lee defends against Johnny Gargano, the newly all healed up with wife Candice LeRae in tow, both as a heel pairing. Now, I don't think there's any getting around that if this was straight up, Keith Lee is an absolute beast and should probably rip Johnny Gargano's head clean off his body. But Johnny Wrestling's got a new attitude of late. It's all about the Johnny Gargano way, isn't it? And how would he do things that, because it's not worked out being Mr. Nice Guy, he said in the past. So I can see the logic. He's getting up into the realms of Big Show for heel face, but
no one will ever get to that level. Ever.
What do we feel though, like the change in attitude, is it going to actually do him any good? I mean, let's not forget, as a face already, he was the first Triple Crown NXT champion anyway. He was the first guy to win everything in NXT.
They're heavily invested in it. You know, they put, obviously the vignettes that they put together and all the kind of changing for both him and Candice LeRae. So it kind of seems strange that it won't go anywhere. But then, you know, are they moving Keith Lee elsewhere? Either, you know, main roster or somewhere else in NXT.
This is where I was threading it together with what you were saying before. So yeah, the rumours were that Dijakovic is going, which it's a little bit. I mean, I'm enjoying him. I think he's a good.
He needs more work.
He does, but to me, he seems to be a fast learner. He's come on so much in such a short space of time. I think he will be the guy to go into the main title picture for me. I think Keith Lee loses the North American title, moves up into the NXT title area, whilst I think they'll probably have a bit of a clear out. I won't be surprised if Velveteen Dream goes. Adam Cole possibly, although he's got a bit of baggage then, because does he take the rest of Undisputed Era with him, or do they keep him around as like the unit that they keep building NXT on the back of? I'm not sure about that entirely, but I think if they've lost Riddle, they're losing Dijakovic, possibly Dream as well. I think Keith Lee is the next sort of headline champion guy to build it around. So I'm going Gargano. Sorry to cut you off.
I'm going to go Gargano as well.
I'm also going Gargano, but
okay.
I want to add to that I think that Keith Lee's going to go all the way up. I think he's going main roster.
See, right, okay.
See, tight a little spot on Raw for the man.
Paul?
When did he win it?
Here he is, Mr. Hot Potato himself.
Well, so I'm just trying to think. Who did he beat to get it off?
Roderick
Strong.
Strong.
Yeah.
Roderick Strong or
it was the start. It was because it was the night that the prophecy dissolved, wasn't it?
So is that before the Rumble, was it, or?
I think
No,
so.
It was after Rumble, because when he was against Lesnar in the actual Rumble match, he wasn't. I don't think he was North American champion then.
Fair enough. I'm going to go against the grain and say that because if the times line up and stuff like that, he's not had it for half a year yet, so it's already sort of been a bit of a hot potato title, hasn't it? It's sort of passed around quite a lot from what I can remember of it.
For those of you that don't know, Paul may or may not be releasing a recording of Matt Lucas's "Thank You Baked Potato" for the NHS, but as "Thank You Hot Potato" instead. Not available anytime soon, for those of you that want to download.
Keep checking the CookieCast website though, just in case.
Not gonna lie,
Indeed, yeah, absolutely.
See a huge clamouring for me to be guest vocaling on anything.
I think that should. I don't know if that's an incentive. If they get to a certain level of subscribers and Paul will release his own music video to cover.
I mean, I'm happy to pay for it.
Okay, why not? Yeah, let's do it. I'll do it in full Tony Pulis style tracksuit.
Full tracksuit. Been waiting for this a long time.
FT'd up. So yeah, slightly off topic, I guess, but
yeah, stick me down for Keith Lee to retain.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got quite a mixed bag for predictions this time. It could go anywhere this time. So before we get to the prediction for the last match on the card,
Hold up, Stu.
Before we get to the last prediction, we're going to have a slight pause. So there'll be a little pause, and then we'll continue. Go.
Okay, so yeah, the last match on the card before we predict this as a straight up wrestling match. not the greatest wrestling match ever of all time in the world, but a wrestling match nonetheless. It's been announced that it's likely that Adam Cole versus the Velveteen Dream is going to be another cinematic style match, because William Regal has said that he's going to find a special location for the match to take place. From what I've seen, spoilers ahead, so take this. It might be, might not be. Not been confirmed, but just a general rumour seems to be that it might be some sort of parking lot brawl. But say nothing is concrete.
But did you see the thing where apparently people have been made to stay till like midnight or something like that after being recording for like 7 hours? And yet to all pull their cars round to do it. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
But then again, that it could only be part of the match, couldn't it? It might not be the whole thing, so we'll see what happens with it. But I mean, they can't complain too much, because they're working once every 2 weeks at the moment. So
been furloughed or released.
Yeah, exactly. It could be much worse. So Adam Cole as champion going in against Velveteen Dream, which it feels like this could probably be Dream's almost last chance at the title, because he's had quite a few shots over his course, and he's never really, other than being North American champion, he's never really kind of won any of the major ones, really. So where do we go with it? What are we thinking? Mr. Cook, straight in there, go on.
Right, you ready? Adam Cole is celebrating 1 year as being champion. That leans heavily towards him losing. Heavily.
The curse.
Heavily. But no. Get Adam Cole's name down in that box right now, and I'll tell you why.
It's down. It is down.
That is Velveteen Dream's last match in NXT. Up he goes.
If he comes out wearing those pants that say "Call me up, Vince" on again, though, then that's going to get binned off last minute.
Vince wants more of these guys on the main roster, and like you say, it's probably his last chance, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win it. That just means it's probably his last match. So I think Adam Cole for now will keep it, but the Velveteen Dream will go up.
I'd like to say that I absolutely agree with Andrew that the loser of this match absolutely goes to the main roster. However, the loser of the match, and therefore new NXT champion, Velveteen Dream. I just think it's a perfect time for him to send up the Undisputed Era. So it's something fresh. They're in an environment they know, so it's a good storyline to get them started on either Raw or SmackDown, because it's a case of, well, you're already in our house as it is anyway. So we thought it was about time that we started defending our house, so to speak, etc., etc., and then just build the storyline from there.
The bad news for you, Andy, is that based on my previous predictions record, I agree with what you said entirely. So I'm also picking Adam Cole.
It'll be fine. We've disagreed on others. It's fine.
I feel like what Paul said essentially will happen at some point, but I feel like they're leaving money on the table by they've created a bit of tension with between the group with Roderick Strong, and if they don't play out, not necessarily Undisputed Era dissolving, but certainly Roderick Strong leaving the group as some sort of story, I don't feel like the main roster's the place to do that. I feel like that's the kind of the storyline which will then happen, and then Cole will go. But yeah, I also, when you mentioned it, seen the graphic about the celebrating a year as NXT champion, and instantly was like, ugh. Yeah, so I agree with what you said. I'm putting down Adam Cole for me, which leaves us with our final prediction of the night. Mr. Moore.
I've gone back and forth with this because it's the same kind of thing of Velveteen Dream. Part of me's like, well, I can't see him going up to the main roster at the moment because, you know, pictures to kids and that, you know, kind of not the best thing to be doing, and it's kind of all kind of disappeared. So I presume, you know, he looks at it and it was all right, but okay then. But then sending, you know, and I think if Cole goes up to the main roster, the whole of either the whole of Undisputed Era has got to go with him, or certainly Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, because they'll just pull the same thing. I would presume they'll pull the same thing as what they pulled when they first came to NXT. They'll do the, you know, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly go down to the ring, and then Cole will appear from nowhere, kind of thing. The Undisputed Era, kind of thing. And obviously Kyle O'Reilly, I presume, is stuck in Vancouver at the moment. That's where he lives. Hence him not being on NXT all this time. So part is like, you want that big impact. If you're going to put the Undisputed Era onto the main roster, you want all four of them, because I think as a four they work better. The kind of, and you know, you saw it at like Super Strong Style. I'm a total Kyle O'Reilly mark. I think he's that kind of dick heel that kind of makes a smart ass comment, makes people look stupid. It's kind of got that sarcasm and kind of, but then is also an awesome wrestler on top of it. And I think the group just misses him at the moment, just for me, on the kind of like vignettes and all that kind of thing. When he was on the other week, I was like, oh, excellent, this is going to be good, and it was better than most of the stuff that they've done in a while. So that makes
on the back of that though, I feel like this is the point where we need to really, you know, chances of any of Undisputed Era actually watching this, maybe slim to none, but if you are watching, gimmick infringement. We've been doing this Zoom thing for months. Stop it. It's ours.
I'm gonna, Adam Cole to retain. I think Adam Cole to retain.
The other reason as well is like picking Adam Cole. He better bloody win, because they've just got them side plates on the replica title, haven't they? probably just a kiss of death now, that innit? Absolute kiss of death. So yeah, so that locks in our predictions. Just actually, when I was thinking on whilst you were saying that, just one thing that I wanted to very briefly just go back to, talking about Riddle going up. Have you seen the Fight Pit?
That great minds think alike, because that was going to be my Any Other Business. That match was absolutely insane and awesome. I'm so glad, again, kind of indie mark, I'm so glad that Timothy Thatcher's kind of getting a proper run as just being this rugged, badass wrestler. And I'm glad that he turned on Riddle as well, to be honest. It was just really good. And I'm glad they haven't stuck him with Imperium as well, because I think that would have been just a really lazy kind of thing to do. But yeah,
give it time.
Oh, when they get desperate, yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they start marketing a black T-shirt with a diamond on that says Imperium across it instead. That's the height of laziness in that respect. But yeah, awesome. Really enjoyed it. Didn't really know what to expect when Kurt Angle was announced as special guest referee. You know, rather than being announced all the way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was coming straight out of furlough. But yeah, I felt like, more than anything, Angle felt like a bit like a deer in the headlights in that match. The whole thing was just really intense from start to finish, and in any other circumstance, this is the guy who, you know, built his career off 3 eyes, one of them being intensity. But it was almost like he didn't know what was happening, and it's no fault of his own, because it was just full tilt right from the off. But
it was a sad indictment of what he's been since he came back to the WWE, to be honest. He's just looked lost, and he doesn't look well. I'm just worried. I'm glad that he's not wrestling anymore, because he walks in such a ginger fashion, and he looks lost in the middle of things, and you just think, obviously all the time that he's spent wrestling is just, you just wonder what's going on, literally in his brain, physiologically in his brain, not kind of mentally, just how is he? You just see him and you just think, he's just, the whole of him, just when he's stood there, he looks like he's in pain. When he's moving around, he looks like he's in pain. And I've never seen anything as and he's an athlete. That's the thing. Lest we forget, he's an Olympic gold medalist. But not being sarcastic about that, he's an Olympic medalist. He's a proper athlete, elite level athlete, and he looks. I've never seen an athlete move like him at 40, 50. He's not an old man.
He's not, but he's not necessarily with that. He's not out of shape either. Just that it's just his movement is it just feels a bit kind of broken,
a bit shaky and clunky and just.
Not to take anything away from the match, like I said, because the performance that them two put on was just.
He wasn't needed. It wasn't needed.
I agree.
There was
no need to 100 miles an hour, though, wasn't it?
It was just, and the different spots, the riddles. I don't know what you even call that. Off the kind of, it was nice to have the two levels as well, because that was just, it was impressive. I don't know where that came from. I don't know who thought it up, but that's the one.
Floating bro.
Yeah,
it's you can't call that move with the whole accent. Floating bro.
Floating bro.
Doesn't really go, does it? But yeah, if you've not seen it, that is worth taking some time to go back and watch, especially to get caught before this weekend's pay-per-view. Obviously, just after you've listened to this podcast first. So, anything else anyone wants to get in before we go?
No,
all good. So, as we alluded to,
I suppose I'll just sort of. It's not all ready to grumble per se, but
do we need 30 seconds though? Is that what you're telling us?
You can put 30 seconds on it if you want.
Get that man a timer. There it is.
Go.
Right.
So I thought Matt was going to chime in with something akin to: does Nia Jax need to be taken off TV and just retrained on how to not actually kill people? Because has she had a match in the last sort of 5-6 weeks where she hasn't injured the person who's been in there with her, or has she got to the point where she's just doing it on purpose?
That was perfectly succinct, just tucked into the 30 seconds. The only thing I would add to that, Paul, is that the matches that she's had in the last 5 or 6 weeks have all been against the same person, pretty much, as well. What's happening on Raw this week? Oh, Nia Jax versus Kairi Sane, and instantly your thoughts are just, oh my god, how is she going to die this week?
but it wasn't her fault. Kairi Sane effed up the bump. Okay then. I can't believe they came out with that.
Every single week.
I think
I can't believe they came out and said that. It's just of course. Then next thing you know, a member of the talent roster, the member of the talent says, no, it's 1,000% Nia's fault. Yeah. Do you think we're all fucking stupid? Of course we knew it was her fault.
Thanks for your statement, but most of us have got eyes, so there is that.
We've also got a list of everybody that she's injured as we go through it. See, now you've set me off. Now, I was thinking about this the other day because there was a while where everyone was talking about, Sasha Banks is a dangerous worker. People shouldn't work with. Where is this from Nia Jax? We don't get. It's kind of like this. Let's find a little cover up for her, and that cut on her head, on Kairi Sane's head, is disgusting. And I messaged you guys the whole thing with Becky Lynch coming out as pregnant. It puts that whole bump in WrestleMania into a completely different perspective. But the person that she was wrestling protected her. She was able to protect herself against it. Come on, somebody, 100% agree with Paul on that one, but, surprise. I already thought about it. I'm not meant to talk about it anymore.
Well, on the back of that as well, have you seen that in this sort of imaginary list of banned moves, apparently the buckle bomb has been added?
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Yes. Was there another one as well?
It used to be the curb stomp, didn't it? But that seems to have made a comeback.
Yeah, but was it? Maybe I just misread it, but I thought it was the outlaw of the buckle bomb and something else, but I can't think what it was.
Maybe the list of banned moves should also include Nia Jax's entrance, and then that would solve that issue.
It's just Nia Jax.
Sorry, this is bad. I've been quite negative about somebody that she is somebody that does that job, but please just do it a bit safer.
She just needs to do some work. I think someone just needs to take her to one side and be like, right, we need to work on what you're doing, because I'm not. It's not a hate thing. It's just a come on. This you can't kind of keep. You don't want to keep on watching wrestling and everything. Bloody hell, that butt looked horrific. And then the same person keeps on doing it, and you just think, yeah, they're gonna struggle to find people to work with it.
I think if she could just take ownership and kind of not necessarily make a statement or anything like that, but put it to bed, put the work in. Other than that, why shouldn't she be the one that's essentially doing what Charlotte Flair's doing now? She's got all the other tools to do it. She could legitimately rip those people in half that she's wrestling. So it seems to be like the final piece of that puzzle for me. If she could just be trusted maybe a little more, I don't think that I have any issues.
She needs to go and work with someone like Awesome Kong or something like that. That's a similar kind of body type, size. That's got that kind of like aura about it, and just like, right, you must have worked with people and kept them safe. Can you teach me how to do this? Because I was listening to a podcast with the Undertaker, and they were talking to him about how do you work with smaller guys? Like, he said he loved wrestling with Shawn Michaels. He was a smaller guy, and he's like, because I knew that I worked safe. I knew that they could protect them, and I will protect them as well. At some point, someone's just going to turn around and say, no, I don't want to wrestle that person. They've taken her off the program with Alexa Bliss because she's got, obviously, the concussion issue kind of thing. And I'm not saying that Nia Jax caused those concussions, but, it's obvious like, you can't work with her because we're worried what'll happen. And she's a big name in the company. And it's gonna deteriorate to, you kind of get the feeling at the moment that Kairi Sane's doing it because she's not desperate to keep a job in the company because she could just walk back into stardom. But there's an element of, all right, yeah, I'll do whatever you ask, and obviously we're building to the Asuka Nia Jax title match, which we'll talk about next week. So she's kind of like just thrown to the walls, as it were. I don't know. I look like a right twat now, don't I? It's just. I just worry about people. We've said it before. We sit and we watch Daniel Bryan and he does something. You think, okay, you see that. Again, we'll talk, Edge has come back and he's working with a safe worker. They've got to be looking after people a bit more.
Not just a safe worker, but one half of the greatest wrestling match in the world ever of all time in the history of wrestling. We'll get to that next week.
Save it till next week. Save it till next week.
The anticipation.
As we have alluded to, we're going to be back with a little bit more regular programming next week. Find out who has taken that title from Matt. Who has taken that title from Matt?
Taking the title from Matt? What?
Wow. Well, we all know that form will prevail, and it absolutely won't be me. So you've nothing to worry about that. But yeah, next week.
Have we had a successful title defense?
Andy had it.
Andy has. Is this the point now where I need to start producing statistics? I'm going to have to go back from the inception of the title and find out how many times I knew you'd say yes to that.
It's alright, we'll be able to do WWE, the shortest title reign ever, because that'll be like, right, yeah. There you go, man. 4 days, 3 days, thanks, cheers.
See, I was gonna purely on the recording schedule. You'd normally at least get a month out of it, but not this time. Yeah, find out next week, ladies and gentlemen. Find out next week. So yeah, if nobody got anything else? We all good?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Good. Right, well, enjoy Takeover. Enjoy being in your house, and I guess enjoy Takeover in your house.
Nice.
Very good.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. All the predictions are in, kids. What are you predicting for this one? Why don't you drop us a line and let us know? Send us something on Twitter. How about that? You know, I'm mixing it up here, aren't I? If you're watching us on YouTube, obviously you're subscribing. If you're not, this is your opportunity to just click that button and click for notifications. Everybody should check out thecookiecast.com. I've said recently there's going to hopefully be some changes happening over at the website. So you don't want to miss anything that you might be interested in, so do check it out. And over there is our social media links, so you can send us a little something. So yeah, there we go. Until next time, which for the Getting Over Boys is only a week away, I'm going to say bye. And I will definitely see you then. Bye.